الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام الغيبة أشد من الزنا. Respectful honored friends, in last week's majlis I mentioned to you with regards to, or rather had commenced wanting to mention about the Gheebah, which is from the various spiritual illnesses that majority of us suffer from. And it is such an illness that unfortunately, because we enjoy it and there is enjoyment in it, it is difficult to leave. For instance, a person may have in them the trait of stinginess, which is something that is greatly disliked. So now, Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala mentions himself, Ayyudain ashaddu min al-bukhl. Which illness can be worse than that of miserliness, stinginess? But it's not necessary that a person is going to enjoy being stingy. It is a characteristic that a person has developed within them. But it's not necessary that they're going to enjoy being stingy. But in actual fact, they're going to deprive themselves, so they're not really going to enjoy being in that condition. And that also needs to be a remedy. And the remedy of that is to spend. So the person who is a miser deprives himself, his family members as well. Doesn't spend on himself, doesn't spend on others either, and doesn't like other spending as well. That is how that person becomes. Due to which, no matter how much money that person possesses, they'll always be deprived, especially in this world, as well as the Akhirat, in this world, because Allah Ta'ala gave them the wealth, but they didn't bother spending, so He just gathers and gets distributed amongst the heirs. الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا مُعَدَّدًا, who all they do is just keep on checking their bank allowance, the statement, and seeing how much every day, checking every day, that it hasn't decreased, or if it hasn't, how much has it decreased. And wherever there is a need and necessity, despite having the means, they do not spend it. So a person should not live in such a manner. Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala saw a Sahabi, and this Sahabi, Nabi Sallam saw his disheveled condition, and Nabi Sallam reprimanded him, saying that, has Allah Ta'ala not given you of horses and camels in that? I mean, that are you not one who is wealthy, who Allah Ta'ala has given you wealth? And the fact that Allah Ta'ala has given you wealth, then why do you not utilize it for? So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam admonished him. This is the balance. This is the balance that Deen and Sharia teaches us as well. That a person doesn't have, then be content with what Allah Ta'ala has given you. And those who do have, there Allah Ta'ala wants that we spend in the way of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And spending means as well that you spend upon those who is necessary to spend upon, and spending upon yourself as well, where it doesn't lead towards the stages or the category of israf as well. And israf is something that there is no specific amount of what is israf and what is not israf. This would depend on the situation of every individual. So miserliness is something that is also a ruhani illness that a person suffers from, something that is really disliked. And as I mentioned here, the Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, there were those Sahaba who didn't have. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not tell them, but those who did have and would not spend, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam would admonish them. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. The bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be acknowledged. What Allah Ta'ala has given, utilize it, spend it. This is showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the bounties that Allah Ta'ala has given. And if a person is going to spend the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wealth on anything, seeing that you will do shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, otherwise you will be deprived of showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the bounties that He has given you. If He has given you wealth and you buy clothing when it is needed, you will see those clothing, you will use those clothing, you will at least it will be a means of you showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything such which is, because all these are what the ni'mas and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, if somebody does suffer from this illness, then this isn't the topic, this is a side way. And maybe they may be from the listeners somebody who does suffer from this. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, sometimes you sit here, your mind, or the topic is, for example, Gheebah or something, and then Allah Ta'ala just puts something else into the heart, and many times there will be those, not necessarily those who are sat here, there are listeners elsewhere as well, who then do mention that, look, it was just appropriate for me, there was something, this is something that was befitting for me, it was something that was on my mind, or something that I wanted to ask, or something I came for the majlis with, or something that it affects me. So maybe this is something that affects somebody somewhere in the listeners, and if it doesn't, then for sure, if it is something we may develop later on in life, at the moment maybe not, but maybe later on, at least we are aware of it, that we should not be stingy. And that doesn't mean as well that you just spend anyhow as well. That doesn't mean that as well a person spends, and a person should spend sensibly as well. Coming back to that, I was mentioning of Gheebah. And you will find there will be those people who Allah Ta'ala hasn't given them so much wealth, but alhamdulillah they eat good food, they wear good clothing, and their standard of life is a lot better than those who Allah Ta'ala has given wealth, but they do not spend and they are stingy. And this is, I remember many years back, in South Africa as well, seeing such an individual. Allah Ta'ala has given a lot of wealth to alhamdulillah, but such a stingy person that he would be wearing torn shoes. The students, the talaba, the students would have better shoes than this individual. And Allah Ta'ala has given so much wealth that he could buy shoes for the whole madrasa. He could buy for all the students a new pair of shoes. But not that it is a case of zuhd and qanaat, that's not the case that he is zahid. You know, somebody has zuhd in them, that is to a different condition, different situation. But this was a case of just being stingy. Because that is not what zuhd is. Zuhd does not mean that now you have torn and tattered clothing, so you wear torn and tattered clothing. Otherwise, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam would have praised this condition in this Sahabi. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam, in actual fact, admonished this Sahabi. That why do you not spend? Has Allah Ta'ala not given you? And Nabi sallallahu sallam, why do I see you in this state? He was in a disheveled state. And his clothing were torn clothing, not so upkept. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam noticed these type of things as well upon the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala. And not that this was a sign of that person being a Sufi, for example, that was a sign of a person being righteous or a Zahid or so. Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam knew the characteristics of the Sahaba kiram radiallahu ta'ala. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam would give them advice accordingly. That's why we say the importance of taking bay'at to a shaykh, or having ta'alluq with the shaykh, is that at least this way, we can mention these things to the shaykh, and the shaykh can then remedy us, give us advice with regards to how we should be living our lives. For some it will be a case of do not spend, for some it is a case of do spend. Depending on the condition of each and every person, it doesn't mean that one shoe fits all. People's conditions will be different as well. Like one person came to Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah alayhi and he suffered from pride. Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah alayhi gave him the remedy that he should straighten the shoes of all the musallis. They go to the shurak area and straighten all the shoes. This was a remedy given to him to combat his pride. Then somebody had seen this and then they saw to themselves as well, look, I have pride as well, this is good remedy. So he started doing that. Hazrat Rakib Umar Rahmatullahi admonished him and stopped him from doing that. Why Hazrat Thani Rahmatullahi said, for one it was a remedy for pride, and the other it was a means of pride. For the other is a means of pride. Why? Because he was doing it so that wanting the people will see that, look, mashallah, look how humble this person is. Look how humble he is. That he's stayed in the shoes of the musallis as well. So he was doing it there so that if somebody was to see him, or if nobody saw him, if somebody did see him and said something, that would have actually led to pride towards him. This is a difference between the two. So the mashayikh are those who are able to give the right diagnosis to those who it is needed, and accordingly. So one remedy is not necessary that is going to fit everyone. And when we become DIY Sufis, wherein we feel that instead of going to the mashayikh itself, where we're going to have to open up and say what illnesses we are suffering from, what are the illnesses that we have in that, or maybe that somebody will be there to tell us. As it is nowadays, mashayikh, and I mentioned this many times before to you, won't just tell you itself. Very rare that will be the case, because that's not how we are nowadays. We don't have that amount of tolerance. But if the Shaykh was to tell us upfront, we feel a bit offended by it. We feel offended by it. So it's a case of the Shaykh just waits for when the murids, if they do come to the Shaykh and mention the illnesses that they suffer from, so then at least then they can give them the remedy. Otherwise, it's a case of just mentioning what at least they come in the majlis. Then for sure in the majlis there will be those illnesses that the murids will be suffering from, the listeners will be suffering from, so at least they'll get some form of remedy from just listening to the waz and that as well. And the benefit is that even if you listen to the waz and these illnesses and the remedies from your own shaykh, the benefit of that is that at least you know that it's come from your shaykh, so you'll have that bit of importance there in you that I need to make amal upon it. Whereas if you listen to the same thing from somebody else, then maybe the same ahmiyat, the same importance may not be there. The same importance is not there. That's why the benefit of taking bed as well is, or having a shaykh is, that if somebody else tells us something or advises, is this the case of, okay, so and so said something to us, if we do, we will take it serious, otherwise not. Where it is our ustad, where is our shaykh, then we know that look, it's come from the shaykh, so there is a case of we need to, there is more pressure. But it is that type of pressure or importance, you can say, that leads towards the actual islah of an individual. Knowing that, look, there's going to be somebody that is going to keep an eye and somebody that we're going to have to report back to. So at least that pressure on an individual will allow one to make those changes within them. So this is from the the benefits of having a shaykh, having somebody with whom we have this form of the islahi and the ruhani ta'alluq with, where we can have our islah done. And this is the topic we went on last week's majlis as well, that we all know that we suffer from so many illnesses. There's nobody at all who has the perfect character. And when we suffer from these illnesses, then we would want that we have these remedy. Then we have these remedy. But the thing is that we don't want to, small other illnesses that we have, we get worried about, we'll go to the doctor to get diagnosed. And there too we will go to the doctor and we will abide by whatever treatment that they give. We take the prescription as well. Why? Because we worried about our health. Our ruhani health we are not concerned about at all. We are not worried about, look, what condition my ruhaniyat is. And when we know that these are all those type of things that are actually preventing us from becoming close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the cleanliness of the heart, I was mentioning last week, that it is these things that are depriving us of cleansing the heart, and the heart is full of darkness, then it is necessary that we go in the majlis or in the sahabat and have such ta'alluq with those mashayikh by which we are able to then cleanse the heart and purify our heart, start removing and remedying the illnesses that we suffer from. Now from these illnesses, the one I was mentioning to you mainly was that of Gheebah. And why Gheebah is so difficult for us to leave? Because Gheebah is something that we enjoy. As when stinginess may not be necessarily something that you enjoy, but Gheebah is something that people enjoy. It is a pastime that people enjoy, that went together. And what is Gheebah, first of all? And as I mentioned to you, with regards to the ayat that Allah Ta'ala mentions, that there is no other wa'id, punishment, or any other warning that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has mentioned as severe as that of Gheebah. when it comes to these spiritual illnesses. That Allah Ta'ala gives an example that it is like eating the flesh of your brother. So eating the flesh of any human being, that is so detestable. And here your own brother, that is what happens when a person does gheebah. And gheebah is what? Backbiting. What is backbiting? That you speak ill of somebody behind their back, meaning when they are not present there. When they are not in your presence, you speak ill of them. And you speak such ill of them that if they were to hear this, if they were to be aware of it, they would dislike hearing what you are saying about them. This is what a gheebah is. And if these, whatever bad we are speaking about that individual, because what we tend to say is, but it is fact what we say. What do we say? It is factual, this person is like that, so I'm not making a lie here, I'm not lying here, I'm not speaking false here. It is true, this person is like this. If that is the case, that whatever bad we're speaking about that individual is found in that person, then this is what gheebah is. And if it is not found in that individual, then this is slander, this is buhtan. This is a fine line between the two. And you speak ill of somebody. If it is not in that person, then it is buhtan, it is slander. You're accusing somebody, and that is slander. And if those things are found in that individual, meaning it is factual. But the fact that it's factual does not make it or give you the license to assassinate the character of an individual in public. And if that is found in that person, then this is exactly what gheebah is. That it is actually in that individual. And that person would dislike it. You praise somebody in their absence, they're not going to dislike that. But if you mention something that is disliked by them, and the reason why gheebah is so disliked is that when it comes to other disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are from hukukullah, it is very easy for us to get out from it. We make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala will forgive us. The gheebah is from hukukul ibad. That until the person does not forgive, Allah ta'ala will not forgive as well. So this is what we are doing, and why it is so unlawful is. We just shows us as well. Elsewhere in Hadith, Nabi Karim mentioned that al-gheebatu ashaddu min az-zina. That it is worse than zina. And as I mentioned last week, zina is something that we know that, look, this is from the kaba'ir, the major sins. And a person will abstain from it. But why not gheebah? Gheebah is from the kaba'ir. But we do not stay away from gheebah. When it comes to zina, we cannot imagine doing zina, or zina is something that it is something, we're going to la taqrabu zina, not even go close towards zina. And here Nabi Karim mentioned that this is worse than zina. But gheebah is fine, we just do it all the time, without feeling that, look, this is even a sin, never mind it being a major sin. And why it is ashaddu min zina? Because when a person commits zina, whoever you have committed zina with, to make tawbah for that, it is not necessary that you need to go and ask that person for forgiveness. You don't need to go ask for forgiveness, which is also something which is a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That imagine a person had an evil past, a past wherein these type of deeds were committed. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that person the tawfiq and hidayah to make tawbah. And now that they've made tawbah, they want to redeem themselves. And now just imagine that they have to go and find all those people with whom they had committed this act with, to ask for forgiveness. Just imagine how difficult that would be, how embarrassing it would be. For you yourself, now that you are in whatever state of righteousness, piety, now you have to look, and the people that you're going to look for, they are going to be also in whatever state they are, married with children, or whatever case they may be in. And now you have to go and look for them and search for them and find them and all that, and go back and look for them. And how embarrassing it would be for them as well, as to why this person is contacting them and these type of things. So just imagine how difficult it would be. It is upon this as well. But Malfuz about Hazrat Rahmatullah Ali, when it comes to photography, Hazrat Rahmatullah Ali mentions one of the hikmahs of why photos are haram is, he mentions that, imagine that sheikh, person who becomes a sheikh at some stage in his life, he's our Pir Sahib, who is on righteousness and taqwa and that. But just imagine if that individual, that Pir Sahib or sheikh, had a past, because not everybody is born a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had a righteous life. So many made what once upon a time, and they made tawbah and that. Just so in our shajara we have Fuzail ibn Ayaz. And Fuzail ibn Ayaz rahimahullah, once upon a time he was a highway robber. He was a highway robber, so he didn't have a good past that time, but now look, whoever takes bait to a sheikh, they'll find his name in the shajara. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts people from what to what. रिन भी हुए कितने औलिया भी, देखो जरा देखो तो शेख जरा देखो तो शेख जरा देखो तो फैज़ खानकाही. रिन भी हुए कितने औलिया भी, जरा देखो तो फैज़ खानकाही. So many who are drunkards and what, they also became awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by coming into the khanqa, by taking bayat, coming to the company of righteous people in the sohbat of pious. ऐसे के वैसे भी हुए कैसे, जरा देखो तो फैज़ शेख कामिल. ऐसे के वैसे भी हुए कैसे, जरा देखो तो फैज़ शेख कामिल. So in this way, Hazrat Ahmadullah mentioned that imagine, like especially nowadays, where we like to take selfies. Now imagine a person who is has taken very selfies of in inappropriate places, doing inappropriate things, and posted those on Instagram and Facebook and wherever else. Remember, it's on the net, it's on the net. You can't distribute it, you don't have rights to take it off now. And these are now all over the place. And then later Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you hidayah. And now that person becomes a sheikh as well. He's in the sohbat of some sheikh. And he gets ijazat and he's become a sheikh as well. And now that he's become a sheikh and he has murids as well. And now his murids say, let me search for Hazrat's malfuzat somewhere online or so. So they put Hazrat's name in Google. And in looking for Google for Hazrat's malfuzat, some kitabs or some bayanats of Hazrat or so. And in that Hazrat, what do you find? You find all these uploaded Instagram and all other pictures of Hazrat prior to being Hazrat. Prior to being Hazrat. So just imagine how embarrassing that would be for Hazrat, knowing that these things are there on the net which you cannot take down. So many our mothers and sisters as well should think about this. Especially later on, Allah Ta'ala gives them hidayat and they come into parda and hijab and that, and there are things out there which they are unable to take down. Things that are already passed on where people will have it. If it's not on the net, then people will have it. And who's passed it on to who and who? These are what from the harms of photography. So irrelevant of whether we regard it to be permissible or impermissible. Because there is ikhtilaf with regards to whether it's permissible or impermissible in the digital form or whatever not. But if you look at it in the other way as well, the harms of it. قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. That if you were to look at the benefits of it and you look at the harms of it, and one main harm of it, as talking about your sheikh as well, is nowadays you find a lot of murideen who will have their profile picture, the picture of their sheikh. As their profile picture, they'll have their sheikh as their profile picture. Because this is what came down, this is how worshipping idols came about. And this is why in Deen and Islam, the mamaniyat, the prohibition of photography, photos came because of this reason. That in the past, people would do what? They made idols out of righteous and pious people. In the time of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, the idols that they made, the whole point was, this is how Shaitan attacked the people. That the intentions, they said the intentions were correct. Then what they would do is that when righteous people passed away, they said, look, we want to remember their legacy, we want to remember them. So they would make idols of them. And people would remember them as if this was a very pious and righteous person. So the relationship with those idols was what? Just a remembrance of a righteous and pious person. And then that generation passed and the others knew that, look, these were people that were looked up at, so they started looking up, and then that led towards what? Actual worshipping of those idols. So for that reason, photos were made impermissible, so that it doesn't lead towards the worshipping of idols. And here we're doing exactly the same. Shaykh is shaykh in his place. Your shaykh is there high up in your heart, the love and affection, love and ta'alluq that you have with your shaykh. But does it mean that now you need to have your sheikh's photos all over the place and you need to have your sheikh's photo as your profile picture? This again is doing what? Is elevating them to that extreme, isn't it? Whereas you want to look at it all the time and just remember them also. So this is something that a person, especially those who have some deeni understanding, should at least understand the harms that is there. Even if it is something that you may take the fatwa of those who regard it to be allowed also. But the haqiqat of this masla as well is that even those ulama who do allow it out of a need and necessity as well. even they do not give permissibility with regard to leisure and pleasure. Even they have not given any fatwa. You don't find any mufti at all who has given fatwa of taking selfies. No one has given that. Lihada, those Darul Ifta who even have said that it is allowed or permissible, look at the criteria that is there. And they all make it certain as well, that out of this, out of what? For example, there are those who allow that waz and bayans and taqreers should be on live video streaming and video recording and that. Why? Because it is propagation of deen, and it helps towards the propagation of deen, for instance. So they have allowed that form of videoing and photography also. But none of them have allowed that it's fine. That the same alim who is there, who is giving the waz and taqreer online, when they are now just out and about leisurely, that their videos should be taken when they're out and about leisurely, or that they should be taking their videos outside leisurely. Nobody has given that fatwa. Or that if they're outside and people are asking them for selfies, that they're posing for selfies with everyone, then there is no permissibility of that. Even those who allow digital pictures do not give ijazat towards that form of use of it. And it is because of that form of use that it has become so common now that nobody even regards it to be harmful. And as I mentioned, never mind permissible, impermissible, we don't even realize that, look, this is something that can be harmful. It can be harmful. That although we may regard it to be permissible, but that too, as I mentioned, permissibility is when there is a need for it. And now here in the case of leisure and pleasure. And what happens is that every time, what we do, we just take in photos of ourselves here and there. We take in photos of our children, and we're sending that on. There is absolutely no restriction. We do not even control who is we sending it to, who it's going to, etc. And those photos are going everywhere, isn't it? You may think that you're sending photos of your children to grandma and granddad. And grandma and granddad may be showing somebody else, and they say, oh, let me see. And they take a photo of it. Or they grab it and they say, oh, just forward to me, or I'd like to show that dress to my fula. The child has a very beautiful dress, I want to show that to my so-and-so, and that goes to that person, that person sends it to that dressmaker, and that dressmaker then may send it to somebody else, to the material company. Now just imagine that one child or so. Girl, for example, and her picture is going how many places to where and where it goes off to. And how that picture can then be abused. And who's the source of it? We were the source of it. We didn't think about it at all, that look, there should be restrictions here. That what type of harm we are bringing. And then there are so many occasions wherein that what happens, the same child becomes ill. And when our children become ill, then we were thinking, what's happened, why they become ill? Somebody else has done something, somebody else has done something to them, nazar lagi. But you are the means of it. You are the means of it, of forwarding it to so many people. You should not have forwarded it to so many people that you became yourself the means of people's gaze is falling on that child by which they have become ill, because al-aynu haqqun. That's the way a good and righteous gaze can have a positive effect on a person. An evil gaze has its effect, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned it is true. Here we ourselves have become the means of it. And this is not just with regard to this, but this with regard to so many other things as well, that we like to show things off by means of taking photos, posting photos on our profiles, and here and then everywhere else. And I mentioned this previously as well, but it's very important because these things are out of control. These things are out of control, that do not show everything good and positive in your life to everybody. Not every person, again this comes down to what? Comes down to that ruhani. Are we expecting and do we think that every person out there has what? A clean heart? That nobody has in them hasad and jealousy? Nobody has hasad and jealousy? Even your own will have hasad and jealousy. Within families we know that how much hasad and jealousy there is. That within those individuals who you would expect that my khushi is their khushi, their khushi is my khushi, but no, that doesn't exist. Even within them it doesn't exist. Rather, other strangers will become pleased with your happiness, but they will not be pleased with your happiness. They will be the ones who will be always putting the spanners in the wheel, who will always be wanting to bring obstacles and trying to create harm in your way. So not every person is going to be happy with your success and good that comes your way. Hence, when that is the case, you do not tell everybody. The waqi of Sayyid Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam as well, Sayyid Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam saw such a good dream. that the sun and the moon was prostrating to him. Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, Nabi of Allah tells him what? لا تقصص رؤياك على إخوتك فيكيدوا لك كيدا. He knew that the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam have hasad with him. They have hasad with him. So Yaqub alayhi salatu was aware of this, so he said to say Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam that look, your dream, do not mention that to your brothers. Why? Because it will just increase their hasad towards you. They already have hasad towards you, but when they are to know of this type of a dream, then that will increase their hasad towards you, so do not even mention that to your brothers. But we are those who will make sure that we want to post it on our tweet and everywhere else. Every naked good that we do, every good that comes our way, we want everybody to be aware of it, everybody needs to know of it. So that isn't the case. Mention it to those who you know will be pleased. Mention it to those who you know will be pleased, who will make dua for you. And not those who you know that they will have hasad towards you. News will reach, let it reach automatically on its own where it needs to. We should not be the means of it. And this is Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has specifically mentioned to this. That do not bring harm towards yourself by displaying the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to others who are going to do what? Who will bring harm towards your way. And this is what we do by each time. So many good things come our way. For example, somebody does good in the exam, their results, their certificates, we're putting that across, putting that on our profiles and showing that to everybody. A new house, for example, a new clothing, new job, new workplace, or new extension, new car, so many things of this nature. And we're putting this and showing it, and in one is where you specifically made the send it to its covered individuals, and the other is a case of just making so arm in general. So every person who's going to have a look at it. And remember, not every person is going to be pleased who is looking at it as well. And not only that, but we go to such extreme, even the type of food that we eat, we want people to know what we're eating as well. The fact that today we've gone to a restaurant, people need to know that which restaurant we've gone to as well. And then whatever we've ordered, that plate of food which is there as well, we're showing that as well. And maybe the whole table is full of all sorts of different foods, and variety of food, and we're taking photos of that, and we're showing that and putting that on our statuses and everywhere else. Not even for one thinking for a moment that from those people who are going to see this, there are many who Allah Ta'ala has not given, who may not be in the condition that we are in, who are not in the condition that we are in, who may not be able to go out in such a manner. And then there will be so many relatives as well, who may be in Hindustan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, other poorer countries, who may not be in that condition. And we are putting these things on our status, on our profiles. And they are going through this, and they are seeing these type of things. Imagine the pain. One is, there might be those who do not have hasad. If they have hasad, then they're not going to be pleased with that. And if they do not have hasad, but there will be pain that they may feel as well. There may be pain that will be feel. And especially if they are from those relatives who in the past may have even asked you or made some ishara towards you as well, okay, look, we are in some need. That we are in some need, can you help us also? And you totally overlook that. Or meaning that you didn't even understand that ishara indication of theirs, or that you deliberately even overlooked it because you didn't want to help them. You scorned it off deliberately. Now imagine when they are to see these type of pictures, what they would think. Would it not hurt them? And part of our iman is, and a good character of a Muslim is that you avoid bringing pain to any other individual as much as possible. So Allah Ta'ala has given you, don't show it to everybody. And especially to those who either they will have hasad towards you, or towards those people who may feel some pain towards what you are doing. We should be very conscious with regards to these things. Especially maybe we do not think so much about this because we do not have poverty around us. We do not live in the midst of people who are poor. So we may not feel that look, these are things that others who are not as good condition as we are. So they may not feel that pain. If we were living in those conditions, then maybe that may make sense to us. And that only to those who even have such a heart that these things will even alert them or consciousness towards these type of things. Otherwise a person would not even contemplate over these things or ponder over these type of things. So the same desserts, people taking of the desserts that they're taking, ice cream that they're taking, and all these type of things. And that too with a teaspoon also, this is the lukma that I'm about to take also. Isn't this is the lukma that you're going to take, and then you make sure you take that and you send it off all over the place. And then you take it and you start now choking on it. Start choking on it. Then you say as well, somebody's cursed me also. But yes, they have cursed you. And who's cursed you? You're the one who you became the means of yourself. Because you're the one who went and posted it everywhere, put it on your status. So before you could even take that lukma, all your contacts have seen what you ate and what you're eating and you're about to eat. What you're even about to eat. So before you've even eaten it, your taste buds, your tongue has even tasted it, others have already tasted it. And as I mentioned, there'll be those who see that and make dua in the heart. Allahumma zid fazil. They'll make dua for you. But those will be very few who will make that dua for you. But there are going to be those who are not going to be pleased. And I mentioned there are so many hasideen. And when the hasideen are such that we need to ask protection from, we need to save ourselves from the hasideen. But then instead of doing that, what do? We give them a greater opportunity, a more opportunity to increase their hasad. There are those things which are not going to be concealable, meaning things which are out there, which is easy. Allah Ta'ala gives you a new house. People will know about it. They'll still have hasad. But here you yourself has been in a means of widening that by sending it out deliberately to people, so that those who may not even know about it, or those who may come to know about it gradually or later on, now you're making sure that everybody is aware of it. And not just one time, but every time. So on a daily basis people are seeing all the new, good things. That bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that have come your way. And so these are from what? So putting aside the permissibility or non-permissibility of these things, the harms are there. The harms are there. And as I mentioned, features of children as well, of daughters that are sent out as well. Well, then later on are going to become baligh. Who's going to protect those? Who's going to look after those photos? Of women as well. And then those photos of women go out in that. And then there are going to be those evil gazers there who want to know that who is this person. Who's now going to be searching and looking and finding out that who is this person. And now later on what happens is, then this is the case. Wherein now husband, he's looking at photos of various people and maybe friends. Wife is sending photos and putting photos of her and with her friends, and that the husband is seeing that on his status, and that so he's seeing who are the beautiful friends of my wife. Who's the beautiful friends of my wife? So his eyes fall on them. And now his intention is that somehow I need to know who's who. And then indirectly also, I mean, this is after now. So he's trying to find out which is who, the name and who and where. And then eventually now he knows, okay, he knows who it is, so somehow try and get the number also. And get the number, so why? So it's a case of when the wife said, oh, my Sahidi, she's a bit ill also, she tested positive. And then later on he's going to go, I'm so husband, I heard that you tested positive, may Allah Ta'ala grant you shifa. I'm going to Hazrat and I'm going to Sheikh, I'll request Hazrat to make dua for you. Oh, mashallah, brother, Jazakallah. Oh, brother, Jazakallah so much for that. Oh, brother, Jazakallah for that. No worries, you're welcome anytime. Now this that already that bit of ta'alluq that has been created there. That ta'alluq that is created there. And things go on. And eventually things get out of hand and this and that. And now you're wondering that where did this form of ta'alluq, where did this breakup between the husband and wife come about? This is how it came about. And this is a common thing. The breakup of so many marriages is because of this. Because of the intermingling of the sexes. Where the husband, when he is at work, he's free to intermingle, and now the wives also. Before it's case of just the husband, the issue was just the husband, the wives were at home. But now it's case of the husbands are outside as well, and the wives are outside as well. So when she works, she doesn't work in an all-male environment. So when she's not in an all-male environment, then there's going to be advances towards her as well. She may not be as strong to be able to control those, and then she gets into a relationship there, and the husband also gets into relationships here. And this is how so many marriages are breaking up. So many marriages are breaking up because of this form of incorrect form of relationships which are developing in the workplaces or even in families wherein there is no concept of hijab and parda at all. And in the same way where there is this form of pictures and socializing, putting things on Facebook and Instagram, and where it's become so easy. There was a case a couple of years ago as well with regards to an individual. A lady for that matter, who was from Pakistan and was living in England for many years now, for many years in a marriage as well. And now, Allah knows best, Facebook, this is fitna of these things, isn't it? So it's a case of, let's start searching for people. Let's start searching for people. We might find somebody who we knew 10, 15, 20 years ago, old schoolmates and old school friends in that. So in this way, she went back to searching for who? An old flame of hers. Somebody who she had ta'alluq with before when she was in Pakistan, who she wanted to marry as well, but that didn't work out. So she got married to whoever she was in nikah with. Now she found him on Facebook. She found him on Facebook, and it was a case of getting to know one another. How are you? How's things? And catching up with one another. Eventually it led to what? That individual there, he played on and played along and this and that, encouraged her to do what? Encouraged her to come to Pakistan. That I'm waiting for you. Come to Pakistan, settle with me, and all sort of promises. Maybe he didn't expect that she would actually do it. But she actually did. She left her husband and home and everything, and she went to Pakistan. When she went to Pakistan, now this guy here, he's already married. He's already married and he's married with his family. So how is he going to entertain her? All the promises were just Facebook promises. They're just Facebook promises. So she goes there, when she goes there, he doesn't want to know her. He doesn't want to know her. And now it's a case of now the wife is also, what's happening here? It's not my fault, she's just talking to me. She found my profile on Facebook and she's just been, I never told her that she has to come to Pakistan and all these things, and she's just, running after me, and she's whatever. She found my Facebook. It's not my fault, look, it's Facebook. So anybody can get it. This and yeah, okay, anybody can get it. What is it? But how? Did you must have given her the number. No, it's on Facebook. So anyhow she can do this, whatever. And this way she went there and to Pakistan. She ran away all the way to Pakistan. For what? For nothing at all. She went, they got nothing, and she had to come back to the same husband. She came back to the same husband, and then whatever happened after that. So these are type of things that are happening. And these type of things do happen because, as I mentioned, because of that freedom that is there on the social media, and on top of that, because of the harms of the photography as well. The pictures that go around, people seeing these pictures, intermingling and these type of things that break up marriages. So never mind the matter of permissibility, impermissibility. That is aside. إِذْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. If there is any nafa, first of all, but the harms of it outweighs the benefit of it. And this is how it goes about. And as I mentioned, so many mothers and sisters as well, who just keep on sending their photos and this and that, whatever. Allah Ta'ala might give them hidayat and tawfiq. They make tawbah, they come into parda and hijab. Now they're going to regret. They cannot go contact everywhere, delete all my pictures. There will be those who might be understanding and delete them. There might be those who will not delete them. And who has kept those pictures, in what form of pictures, in what ways and what not. So there is so much harm that come about it later on. That's why Hazrat Rahmatullahi mentioned as well, look, this is one of the hikmat of why photography is haram. Now later on maybe somebody looks and thinks, look, Hazrat was like this in his youth. Hazrat was like this in his youth, and you just remember him how he was in his younger days. Or any person for that matter, not necessarily becomes a sheikh or Hazrat as well. It's any person who now has made tawbah. And in this way, you find all these type of pictures of them, inappropriate pictures. And just imagine now what if the children find pictures of their parents in such a manner, or we in inappropriate places and with people that they're not supposed to be as well. Because who can you control? Nowadays this is the way it is. That even without you giving anybody permission, any person will just take pictures of any person. Any person will just start taking pictures. That's how common it has become. So common it has become that everywhere and every step that we take, now footsteps. So wherever we are, we're taking literally every footstep we take photos. Isn't it? Every footstep we take photos. We're going to I.T.A for monthly, we take a photo of the I.T.A outside, and we take over the shoe racks as well, put over our shoes as well on the shoe racks. But who wants to see that? But no, we do that. We even take photos of that and fancy, make it nice and fancy as well, in a manner of your shoes there on the shoe rack as well, to show that look, you're in I.T.A. And then when you come inside and there, then Jamaat Khana as well and whatnot as well. And we take out the Jamaat Khana, there'll be people, Musalli sat in the masjid, we're not even conscious about them, that look, should we be taking photos of them as well or not? But we'll take photos of them as well. You see the haram as well, people standing up and taking photos, video of the whole haram, and they take it all. You see people there who don't want to be in your film, in your camera. They're walking into the haram and they're taking camera, and you're walking past and there's so many people. And in which there will be so many sisters who are in hijab and parda, who don't want to be in your photo, they do not want to be in your camera, or they do not want to be in your video. But you're just taking randomly of so many things, only just taking off the building itself and not catching any person. This is in such a way you walk into the haram and you're taking you walk up to the haram. So many individuals you're taking in that. Your photo is then going viral, or those videos are going viral. And each person who are going to look at that person who doesn't want to be on that camera, on that video of yours, or those women or so sisters who are in hijab, who are protecting themselves, and now the whole world is seeing them, even in their hijab, the sin will come down to you. Just for your showing people that, look, I'm in the haram and this is how the haram looks. Everybody now knows how the haram looks. Just to show the people that you are there, for that, look about the amount of sin that is coming in your way, irrelevant of whether that is permissible or not. Look how impermissible it becomes, because of all the harms that come about because of this, because of not thinking with regard to these type of things. Because it has become so common. It has become so common that we think that everybody is fine with it and everybody wants and everybody is happy with it. There was a time when you enter the haram, they would confiscate your phone. Cameras were not allowed at all. It was haram, mamnu. They would not allow you at all. You'd have to take it quietly and secretly take any photos that if you wanted to. Now it's fine. Now Shaykh Haram also, Imam Haram will pose and take selfie with everybody. That's how he's become. And not only that, but just not them, but even ulama nowadays as well are doing that as well. Again, there is no permissibility. There is no fatwa allowing that form of leisurely use of photography at all. Irrelevant of being halal or haram, there is no permissibility towards that type of use of it. Now just imagine these are the type of harms that come in our way, direction by us doing these type of things. Will you put on one casa? Casa diver. Gheebah to thi, वो तो असल इस पर al-gheebah ashaddu min az-zina. That the person in gheebah, in zina, you don't need to ask forgiveness from those who you committed zina with. So usme tha ke now you're going to have to start looking for people that you had done zina with, that you have to go and ask them for forgiveness. Usme fir ye photography ka hazrat ka malfuz se ye baat nikli thi. But this is why Nabi mentioned al-gheebah ashaddu min az-zina. Zina, you make tawbah to Allah Ta'ala, khalas. You don't need to now ask forgiveness from the person that you did zina with. But gheebah is a different matter. For gheebah is a case of us having to ask forgiveness from that individual. However, one point on this aspect of seeking forgiveness is that Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah has mentioned that seeking forgiveness, otherwise it's going to be very difficult. Why difficult? Because when you've done gheebah of somebody, why it is haram is because that person is going to dislike the fact that you made a gheebah of them. If they were to know of it, that look, today in class or today at work or today outside or in a function or this there, so and so talking this about you, they're going to feel bad about it. They're going to feel hurt about it. And because of that, it is something that it is impermissible. Now, if they were not aware of it, then fine, they won't feel that hurt. If they become aware of it, they're going to feel that hurt. Hence, Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullah mentions that it's not necessary for you to go and look for those who have done gheebah and ask them for forgiveness. Why? Because that will increase the pain. Now you think that now I've heard that gheebah is haram and I need to ask forgiveness. So now you go to that person, the friend of yours, that you know what, we have sat with other friends, and I said to them in front of them, I said that you are like this and you are like that and you are like that. At this moment they're going to feel a lot of pain on hearing that, look, this is what you think of me. I thought you were my friend and these are the type of things that you speak about me when I'm not in your presence. So they will feel a lot of pain upon it. So there is not necessary that you need to ask him for forgiveness. Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah mentions that if you know that that person is aware that you made gheebah of them, now you become the incumbent to ask them for forgiveness. That person is aware, they become aware. Another friend went and told them that look, he was making gheebah of you, speaking ill of you, and he knows about it now. and you are aware of it, that's when it becomes incumbent that you have to ask the person for forgiveness. If they if they then forgive you, then that is fine, otherwise not. So this is why Nabi Karim mentioned that al-ghibatu ashaddu min az-zina. Zina is fine, you don't need to recap, go back to that person and ask him forgiveness. But in a ghibah you have to, which is a lot difficult. For that reason it is ashaddu min az-zina. But zina we understand and we realize that look, it is something that we need to abstain from and something that we need to stay away from, but not ghibah. Ghibah we don't at all, and we do it so many times throughout the day. But there is more that can be said upon ghibah. Whatever we have heard so far, Allah Ta'ala grant us all the understanding to abstain from it, to protect ourselves from it, and understand the severity of it. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.